Hello, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to Connect Africa. Welcome to our live streaming session. So this will be again update on Niger. Okay, honestly, this happens every time to me because I open my YouTube. It's on my laptop as well. So if I forget, it plays anyway. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so we have not updated you for a while. I think this week. So we're gonna give you a lot is happening every day. There is something regarding Niger, and for that we have Kwame here with us. Welcome, Kwame.
Thank you, Mahlet. Maybe you should put off that. YouTube.
I put it off already.
I'm still getting feedback myself.
Maybe it's yours.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mahlet. And regards and greetings to everyone who's watching us on the channel. We are back. Yesterday, you had a very wonderful show with Dr. Ayele. I think that was very informative. It was very powerful. Yeah, so we want to thank everyone who watched the show. As usual, we are back. We were not able to focus and broadcast on Tuesday because of some technical problems, but we are back nevertheless. And we thank you, everyone who's watching us. As you know us, we are broadcasting, but at the same time, we are working on the ground to make sure we make Africa great as we are supposed to, because that is our duty in this generation. So you are supposed to support us, come out in big numbers on the channel and support the channel in every way you can, because we are not only talking, we are also doing the work in the background. So be a good person, be a good African, on the continent and across the globe, and support us in the work which we are doing. Yeah, so we are here once again to support, the task of building the new Africa which we want, or which we desire. I will not say the Africa we want, but the Africa which we desire, which we deserve. So that is what we are here to do. Thank you very much. Back to you, Mahlet.
Thank you, Kwame. Just a second. I was trying to share something.
Okay.
Yeah, just give me a second. And first of all, we really apologize. We scheduled it for past, and we are late. Sorry about that, but still, I see people here tuning in. Thank you, and we really appreciate and have so much respect for that. We try really to avoid that. Let me just, it's related to our discussion today. So,
Yes, so let me just remind the people also that we have a campaign that is going on, Boycott Colonial Businesses. You can go on Twitter. You can check out the channel Connect Africa. You can also check out my channel or my account on Twitter or X. You can check out Kwame Gonza on there, and you will see the campaign that we are pushing forward, which is called Boycott Colonial Products. And in this, what we want to achieve is that when you look at the past periods, in 1945, there was a campaign which was started. And in that campaign, if you look at that campaign, it was started in the Gold Coast, and it led to a movement, and it was for the boycotting of colonial products in the Gold Coast. And this is where independence actually came from in one case. And if you look at also in the United States, you can see that there was the boycotting of colonial products in the United States. I mean, a boycott of the buses So this led to the success of the civil rights movement. So we think that we have to learn from some of these successes of our ancestors. So this is where we borrowed a leaf from. And we think that one of the ways to send a clear message to France and the United States and Europe is to boycott their products in Africa, to teach them a lesson because of their interference. And there's a lot of businesses. You can go to supermarkets and examine the products which you are buying. Do not buy products from Europe. You can go anywhere where you buy your products, fuel petrol stations. You can decide to boycott Shell petrol station. You can decide to boycott Total because we want to send a very clear message. When sanctions have been applied on Africa, no one has asked whether this will affect children and mothers and common people and civilians. So if Africa also is trying to apply sanctions and to punish these people, and actually majority of them who are in connivance with our ruling class that is also oppressing us in Africa, then the people have a right to boycott these products. So this campaign is going on. You can go to Twitter even and you just search boycott colonial businesses. You will get that hashtag come up. So support us in that campaign, which we are carrying out also. Aside other things which we are doing in the background, we are doing a lot of things in the background, which will come and update you later on. But for now, they are secret projects which we cannot reveal because the timing is not right. But as we said, those people who are supporting us, actively and they're contributing, some of them, they will have access to some of these things that we are doing in the background. And they can also give their ideas and strategies. But we are not saying you cannot give your ideas. You can put ideas in your comment section, and then we will come and update you later on about what we are doing in the background. But I can promise you, there's a lot we are doing. There's a lot going on in the background that we are putting together in regards to the events that you are seeing that are going on, even in Niger, Mali, and all that. There's a lot we are doing in the background. Thank you very much. Mahlet, back to you.
Thank you, Kwame, for covering me up. And while I try to do my technical things, I'm not savvy that much, but I managed. So we have the document here. As Kwame said, there is a lot that's going on. Really, we are trying that narrative. We don't want to be that part of history, that we know all the things. We have the tools, but with no action, just to let it pass and just talking. No, we want to be practical, and we are practical. So when the time is right, we will reveal it, and you will be part of it definitely here. Yeah. So that being said, Niger's since last week, was it that on the 10th Thursday, that the Ecowas leaders said, decided to activate their force to be standby. And then after that, we have seen, a lot of developments. It's like, for me, it's like a chess game where the ECOWAS, AU, and the Western powers have involved. Okay, so the coup leaders or these revolutionary leaders currently in Niger, because it's uncomfortable to say coup leaders because it has that negative connotation, have assigned a prime minister for Niger. And that prime minister has paid its first visit to Chad. It's not just a random country. Chad and Algeria are those in public who gave their support to Niger. And then also we have the AU meeting, the Peace and Security Council meeting, which is concluded without no joint statement. So information that are coming out from inside are actually, it was really a tense one, very difficult, and categorically, opposed by some of the members. So as the news have it that the southern and northern region of the continent has opposed the military intervention. So if you remember on Thursday, when ECOWAS said that they will put their forces standby, Tinubu said that he requested, because I'm laughing, for the approval of the African Union, because the African Union has been quiet. Their first statement was, it was on 26 July when the coup happened. That's it. They never said anything after that. It was just ECOWAS doing its theatrical drama. Now, so the AU, I think, after when it was requested, released the statement, but the Peace and Security Council is concluded without any meeting, any joint statement. Now we have heard also the US last night, their new ambassador to Niger is going to resume her official mission. Her name is Kathleen. I forgot her last name, but I will remember it. To resume her mission this week, later this week, so maybe towards the end of the week. She is appointed, by the way, after the coup. It was the coup happened 26, and the appointment is 29 July. Okay, it's not just and America has been doing, the US has been doing its thing unilaterally, and yeah, also all these things are like one does this and the other one something. It's like a response for what happens before, for the action taken by the other one. But in the midst of all this, what we have is the African Union not deciding whether to intervene military or not, because it's opposed by its own member states. And then we have ECOWAS doing this convince and confuse game that at some point they say they are ready, and then they say, okay, we have the standby force, and then we request for the approval of the AU, and then today they have their meeting in Accra as we speak. It started today and it will end tomorrow. The defense chiefs of the member states of ECOWAS, still not decided, nothing is decided. So what to make of this? And later on, I will play that document and I will ask you about the man said. But for now, what to make of these two situations here?
Thank you, Mahlet. You mentioned a lot of things in what you said. Yeah. You spoke of the United States, and of course, you spoke about the Ecowas and the African Union and its response. Ever since we were here, a lot of things, of course, have happened. You spoke about also the Chad issue, but let me first remind our viewers that even though we are doing a lot of things in the background, we have also written to the African Union and the regional bodies together with our partners who are Pan-African organizations. And in this, we have stated about 4 points, and we will share that document, of course, when the time is right. In that document, we have indicated about 4 points which have to do with economics, how the continent should be run. And if you are out there, actually, you are very close to some of these organizations, especially the regional economic blocs and the African Union and the African heads of state actually are included in this document. The direct person or group is the African heads of state, because we understand they are the ones who control these. They have more power than these organizations. They are the ones who give them some of the power, a little of the power which they have. So we have addressed issues regarding the economics and how our continent should adjust and readjust to the current realities of the world. We mentioned something about geopolitics, and then solving the issues affecting the continent regarding security. So we spoke about geopolitics, we spoke about the economics of the continent, and we spoke about the security situation of the continent, that it needs a new approach. We cannot we cannot continue approaching our security challenges and we cannot continue to approach the geopolitics of the world in the same way that we have been doing, and we cannot continue approaching the economic realities of the globe in the same way as we have been doing in the past. So this is our call to the African Union, African heads of state, and the regional economic communities. And this was an initiative by Connect Africa, working with our partners, the other Pan-African organizations like the Africa Continental Unity Party, the PLO Lumumba Foundation, and all the other organizations like the Global African Congress, which is in the UK, which is a diaspora organizations, and other partners like Africa, 55 states in South Africa. These are all Pan-African organizations. Now, to come to what you have asked, I think that the fact that a prime minister was appointed by the government, now we call it a government right now, in Niger, is to show that we are ready to run a government. That is the message that is being sent out there, that we are ready to run a government in Niger, and you should forget about Bazoum. Forget about Bazoum. Mohamed Bazoum is not the head of state anymore, and there's nothing to do with him anymore. Niger is going to be run by a different group of people, a different government, and this government is here to stay. This is the clear message that is being sent right now. So you can see that it is not only the minister of foreign affairs or the prime minister and others who were appointed, but all other cabinet ministers were appointed, many of them who I will not waste my time to mention. And so what we are also seeing is that when he took this trip to Chad, he is trying, of course, they have had meetings with the friendly countries of Burkina Faso, Mali. So this, what is being done is to show that we are ready, we are open for engagement on a diplomatic level as a nation, and we have started operating. So anyone who is still talking about Bazoum and thinking that Bazoum will be back, they should forget about it. So I think that this is the clear message. Now, people like the United States have realized that nothing is going to change. These are serious people. So we better adjust to the realities of what is happening. And the United States is trying to distance itself from France. Because if you listen carefully, majority of the hate has been coming towards France. So the United States is trying to distance itself as much as possible from associating with France. Why? Because the United States still wants to keep the military base in Niger. For you to fly a military drones and be able to spy around the African continent, you need to be in the middle of the continent. And Niger is somewhat in the middle of the African continent. And of course, Niger also is much more closer to the Middle East. And you know, and you remember that the United States, the Arabs have become very hostile towards the United States in the Middle East. So when you are in Niger, in northern part of Niger, then you are likely have access, to the African continent, but you are also going to have access to the Middle East, because for you to fly a drone, some of these drones, like the MQ-9 Reaper, which are present at the United States military base in Niger, they fly for around 40 hours. They can stay in the air for around 40 hours. So that means you only have a limited time to stay, in the air, and the drone needs to come back down for service and refueling, of course. So I think that the United States is fighting tooth and nail to keep the military base. And so that is why we are seeing the approach that the United States is taking now. It is trying to adjust to the realities. And if we go back, we saw that the United States has stopped mentioning about this being a coup. actually it has not been mentioning this being a coup, and it has been avoiding calling this a coup. And it has been mentioning constitutional order, return to constitutional order, even when they asked Blinken, is this a coup or is a what? And he said, whatever you call it, we want to return to the constitutional order. That is the insistence. So the United States in itself, the fact that their ambassador is going to resume the activities, their activities, the ambassadorial activities, it shows you that they have adjusted. The United States has adjusted to the realities of what is coming. And now, of course, this could be a threat in some way to the Africans, because what we have to be very careful of is the United States is a much more dangerous colonialist, but it does its colonialism subtly. It hides its colonialism, but its colonialism is much more also brutal. Is not different from what France has been doing, and that's why we are seeing it is trying to hide itself. And of course, this has angered, this has angered the French. The French are really very angry about the United States approach and the fact that it went and tried to intervene with Victoria Nuland to try to approach the government in Niger. So the French are really very angry about it. And on the other side, we see also the British. The British are also not happy with the French. Why? Because the British, they don't want Nigeria to be involved in this chaos. They see France trying to push Nigeria. France is trying to push Nigeria into this chaos. Yet, Britain still considers Nigeria as its territory. I mean, these are the realities that these countries, the reason why the Commonwealth was created, so that, these countries which were former British colonies can be in the Commonwealth. The reason is that it still wanted to have control over its former colonies. That is why you still have the Commonwealth. So Britain sees France's pushing of Nigeria into intervening and helping it where it has lost influence as an interference into its territory. That is how Britain is seeing it. And so that is why we saw an article last week by the BBC pointing to France and asking, is France trying to cause chaos, in the region? So that is what the British are seeing, that France is trying to intervene. On the other side, also, we see that the United States is seeing that France has failed to control the territory, so it is time for the United States to take over. That is how the United States is seeing it. That is why it has acted single-handedly without telling France what it was doing, because it thinks that France has failed to control the territory. It has failed to use coercion and hold it back. It has lost control. People are hostile towards it. So United States is trying to position itself as a much more better partner, in this situation. And of course, but the purpose, the end goal is to protect the whole colonial system. And this is what we have to be very careful for, for us as Africans. We have to be very careful of, if we are pushing out of France, we need to push out the United States together, because they are the same people, they are the same colonialists, and the tactics they are going to use, they are the same. It is the same exploitation. And I would urge the government in Niger to be very wary of this approach of the United States. The African Union, of course, from the very beginning, itself has been not very committed to this military action. When Nigeria and who's the leader of the Ecowas, of course, Ecowas, when it came out and said that they are giving the coup leaders 7 days to reinstate Bazoum, the African Union said that it was giving, the African Union said that it was giving the coup leaders 14 days. So there was already a difference in opinion, and there was a difference in approach. And of course, ECOWAS came out to say that they don't need permission from the African Union to do what they want to do, to intervene. And so that is what we are, even hearing today Ecowas saying that they don't need permission from the United Nations. But when we, what we have seen is that ECOWAS is doing all it can to save face, because it knows that majority of the African people are against this, and its image already is tainted. What it is trying to do is to save. ECOWAS is trying to save its face, because the people have realized that it is a colonial organization, is a neo-colonial organization which doesn't represent the interests of the African people. But also, apart from the fact that there's no support for the coup by the African people all over the continent, and even in northern part of Nigeria, the border states, the 7 border states on the border between Niger and Nigeria, all the governors there, they have kicked against the intervention, and the religious leaders, all of them have kicked against this intervention. They don't want a war and destabilization around this place. ECOWAS has really seen that it will be difficult, aside ECOWAS itself having a lot of division. It's inside that some of the members, they don't support the coup outrightly, and they are not willing to contribute troops. And some of them, even like Ghana, even though the Minister of Defense today came out to say that he's willing, that Ghana is willing, but the president in Ghana has not come out to say that he's going to contribute troops. In ECOWAS itself, there's divisions. Members do not agree. Some of them, they are mocking ECOWAS. Some of the member states in ECOWAS are mocking ECOWAS and saying that what they are doing is a joke, because you have people who have already carried out coups and they have not done anything. Chad is a coup, Ivory Coast is a coup, Macky Sall himself, he's terrorizing people, and opposition leader Sonko is already, in the hospital, that he has been terrorized by President Macky Sall. So all these are accusations against ECOWAS. So people like George Weah, Liberia, who is a member, of course, of ECOWAS, and say that this is a joke, So it is facing a crisis within. That is another problem, apart from the fact that the African people are not supporting it. It has a crisis internally. So there's a need to save face now. Now, on the other side, there's a lot of pressure from outside that how is it possible? Because you need a lot of troops. Now, those troops, where are they going to come from, and who's going to pay for them? That is another crisis. Who's going to pay for this mission? Of course, we know that they are colonial masters. They are, masters who are the imperialists. Could come in, like France could come in very quickly. And the United States, of course, has said in some cases that you support the intervention. But also, they have a crisis that you have this pressure of the fact that how are you going to fight? How many troops do you have as ECOWAS that you are going to be able to fight Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger? And then you have Algeria supporting on the other side. So that is a very difficult situation. It is an extremely difficult situation. And now on the other side, of course, yesterday, the African Union has not resolved on what to do. And instead it has said that it doesn't support an intervention. So now you have this pressure that ECOWAS is facing, all these things which I've enumerated, which I have mentioned, that it has to find a way of saving itself. It has to push out some threats and say what they're saying right now. If you listen to the Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security of ECOWAS, Mr. Abdel Fattah Musa, he said that they are going to exhaust all the means for dialogue, diplomacy. They are going to intensify the diplomacy, but they are going to attack. So I think that this is a language of threatening. Of course, I saw him on the news today, on Joy News, a news network in Ghana, a media house in Ghana, because they are having that security meeting in Ghana today. And tomorrow, as you have mentioned, so he came out to issue the threats that they will intervene. But from analysis, what we see is that it is not likely to be possible. And if they do it, I think it will be one of the most stupid, actions ever carried out by a regional body ever in the history of humanity, if they dare do it, because it will create a catastrophe we have never seen on this African continent. And that will be the end of it as an organization. Maybe, even though right now we still believe that it is facing a crisis, we still think that it could be worse if they attempted to attack Niger and went inside. Even the other governments which are face-saving, like in Senegal itself, and even Ivory Coast, I think people will somewhat start revolting, because majority of the people on the African continent are not in support of this, because they are seeing it as a colonial endeavor. That is how people are seeing it. And the United States, with its actions, I think it has already read into the minds of what is going on in the minds of the African people. Yeah, so that is what we are seeing. And of course, the government itself also has shown that the government in Niger has shown that it will not back down. And so it will even go ahead to prosecute Bazoum for treason, because they think that all the things he has been doing, the selling of resources, and actually I support them. I absolutely support them. If you sell the country's resources and you have 13% of people having electricity in Niger, and you have almost 100% of the people in France have electricity, while you are supplying uranium, your own uranium is what is being used to supply electricity in France, but in Niger there's no electricity. I think that is treason. If you are constantly praising France and the United States as the ultimate everything in Niger, they are the ones who are the guarantors of security in Niger, to the point that you disregard the troops, which you have maybe 30,000 troops, and you prioritize over 1,000 French troops as if they are much more powerful, more potent than the 30,000 troops who are Nigerians and Africans. I think this is absolutely treason. I think for all this, I would support the governments. And I think this should send a message to all the other African heads of state that they cannot continue to act how they are acting and disregard the interests of the African people. And so I think that our constitutions, as the constitutions of Africa, we should put that and embed that clause in, that regardless of where you are as a head of state, if you come off, if you stop being head of state, and if you step down as head of state, whether you have finished your term or you have been removed, if crimes are found that you committed crimes, you should be prosecuted by the courts of law, and you should pay. If you cause the loss to the state, you should be able to pay for it. I think this should be able to help us to counter the corruption and the mismanagement and incompetence, which is leaving our people so much, disadvantaged in many situations. Thank you very much, Mahlet.
Thank you very much, Kwame, for that. Yeah, so now I am seeing the engagements in the chat sections really, really heated. Many points. We will bring them later on after we are through with our own, but continue really very important points. Let me just read one. Allow me, okay? It doesn't mean nothing. Yeah, somebody said, important to point out the fractures and weaknesses in the imperial/colonial alliance, because we are always caught up what they do against us. And, it's really important for us to point out that as well. And, see how our works also has impacted the process. All these different Pan-African platforms have been shedding light on the truth of this coup in Niger being a voice to the people of Niger. Somehow, somewhere, it will make a change. It will make a difference. Now, moving to our second question, let's listen to this. This is an interview given after today's meeting in Accra, where Ecowas is meeting on Niger. So let's listen to him, and then we'll come back.
West Africa, right? Terrorism. Chapter 7 does not even allow for counter-terrorism.
Absolutely.
You know that? Okay, so this is the environment in which we are operating. Why are people talking about chapter 7 here, chapter 7 there? When Ecowas went to Liberia, Sierra Leone, we didn't ask for chapter 7. We informed the African Union, we informed the UN after the fact. Often, let me tell you one thing, chapter 7, the request for chapter 7 is often done, in order to secure resources, access contribution, from the UN coffers, right? The heads of states are saying, that we are going to Niger with our own resources. Anybody who wants to help us, fair enough.
Well, the Peace and Security Council have actually disassociated itself from this action.
Can you repeat that?
The Peace and Security Council of the UN, they've disassociated, the African Union disassociated themselves from this action.
They have not. Who tells you that? You are reading fake news. Okay, that's what. Listen, there is. Yeah, there is a time you have to draw the line in the sand. Okay, the fact that we had 3 successful coups and no muscular approach was applied there doesn't mean that we should allow the domino to continue. That is it.
What would be, you talk of drawing the line, what would be the line between the F1?
Now, what chapter 7? I mean, are they trying, as I said, trying to confuse us? What chapter 7 he's talking about? What is he trying to refer to? And then, but again, I ask this: the situation is like a deadlock. AU not approving the military intervention. ECOWAS also, some of the member states did not approve, but again, they're boasting about it. And still they're talking about the standby force, activating the standby force. Where does this take us, and what this man is really talking about regarding chapter 7? Why the UN now all of a sudden is into this thing?
Yeah, so what he's talking about is a war in Liberia, in which they intervened, which was a civil war. And of course, in this, it was assumed that President Charles Taylor was killing his people, and a situation like that. And then people were retaliating, so it was a war. Then Ecowas needed to go and intervene and stabilize the situation. So this is a very different situation to what is happening today. This is not a civil war. This is a government that has been taken over. And I think there is also, I sense some sort of arrogancy by some of these groups of people who are working in these organizations, and organizations which, of course, majority of the African people even have rejected because they are ineffective. And so because they are ineffective and they have failed to deliver on the promises, then they resort to this level of arrogance. And so you have these people who are benefiting from these organizations. And of course, majority of them, they are being funded from outside, from these Europeans. If we look at what is happening with the ECOWAS, it has been pushed by France is the one who has been pushing it, and the Europeans, they are the ones who have been pushing it to intervene militarily. Now, when it has faced pressure, and they don't have where to go. They are not seeing a way out of what they have committed themselves to. So that is the people are asking them questions. That is why they are mentioning these things. So they were asking him, don't you need permission? Don't you think you guys, what you are talking about, you need permission from the United Nations? And he was saying that they don't need permission from the United Nations to go and and intervene in Niger. So I think that this is just face saving for someone who's benefiting from these institutions, and which institutions are being paid for by Europeans. So it's just face saving. And of course, we have seen this, that even during colonialism, you had these Africans who were benefiting from the colonial system during that period, that they did not want the system to collapse. So they would do everything, and they were willing to do anything to stop the system of colonialism from collapsing. But at the end of the day, it collapsed. So this is the breed of people to which this gentleman, who is the Ecowas chief of political affairs, who's the commissioner, Mr. Abdul Fattah Musa, the ambassador, who's the commissioner of political affairs, peace and security, at the Ecowas Commission. So that level of arrogance, the fact that he is benefiting from it, and so everyone should support him. So, okay, we should neglect the realities on the ground and just throw our bodies about because we have the authority, we have the power. We think we have the power. But these are people who have not done the analysis to understand what is on the ground. And so these are people who take their countries and other people, put other people in problems. We saw this, what happened, in Iraq and Afghanistan, that people who are heated up, they have their interests, they have their corporate interests. They sent the United States into a war. How did it end in Iraq or in Afghanistan? So this is the same group of people, because they are benefiting from the system, and they make it look like, oh, what we are going to do is easy, is very easy. So now we are going to do it. Let anyone do whatever they want. And we want to protect ourselves and continue to benefit our children. And in Britain, this is where they are studying from, and no one will stop me from having my children studying in Britain. My check is coming in, so I'll continue to protect my check. So this is what we are seeing. So this is in absolute and utter neglect, of what is on the ground. And this is the question, actually, what Dr. Arikana Chombori was trying to answer today when she was having an interview with Arise News of Nigeria. And she's saying that coups have been happening, different definitions and types of coups have been happening in Africa. And ECOWAS has not been saying anything. Real coups and economic coups have been happening on the African continent. Where have these people been? Have they attended to these economic coups whereby France is exploiting our people? Where have they been? Why did they not intervene in the fact that France was taking and has been taking and is still taking the uranium from Niger and Mali and taking the gold? Where have these people, been? So where are they all of a sudden coming from? Where are they popping up from? So she challenged them and tasked them to address the previous coups, address the coups that France and the United States and the Europeans have imposed on Africans, the economic coups, the fact that we do not have industrialization and our resources are being taken to France and Europe, and to a larger extent now, we are seeing that the Chinese are also coming in and the Indians are coming in to take our resources. Our economies are owned by foreigners. The Africans don't own anything. We want the leaders to address these coups. Let them address these coups first, before pumping up and, being, pumping their chest and being puffed up. I think they should address these problems. So I think that these are just posturings. This is just posturing and, face saving that is going on with people like him and his kind, because they have failed to address the economic challenges of the people. The people are suffering, and these guys have failed to address the sufferings of the people. Every time we talk about this suffering, the card of democracy is pulled out as if democracy is a piece of cake. that you can put on plate and eat, as if democracy is a piece of electricity that you can go and switch on in your house and it will bring electricity. As if the democracy, you know, is a piece of money that you can put in your pocket and is a piece of food you can put on your plate, or is a piece of medicine. Democracy is a piece of medicine. You can go to the hospital and find it. I mean, these are the questions, these are the hard questions now we are asking. And every time you ask these questions, all of a sudden the card of democracy is pulled out as if it is the one which serves everything, as if it's some magical, is some magic which brings food and money and good life for you on the table. I mean, I think this is what the African people are not accepting. And like she said, like Ambassador, you know, Arikana mentioned, this is a revolution. This is not just a coup. This is a revolution, and anyone who stands in the way of it will be consumed by this revolution. And there's no turning back. The fact that this revolution has started, there's no turning back. You are either for us as the next generation of Africans who are going to occupy this continent for the next half a century. So you are either on our side or you are against us. And if you are against us, God help you. Thank you very much, Mahlet.
Thank you very much, Kwame. So yeah, with that, we covered what we planned for today. But yeah, let me ask you quickly, what do you make of the silence by France? Well,
Yeah, I think in France,
as compared to the US.
yeah, France, I think you can see it is powerless. It has become powerless. You can see it if you want to experience it very well. Go to the French media platforms. Go to France 24. I mean, they have been commenting about everything. Anywhere where they see that there is hope that this is what will help them to come back to power, come back to influence, to the position of influence. So they have been commenting about Ecowas. Ecowas says we'll intervene, maybe Ecowas will intervene, maybe Ecowas will intervene. So you can see that they are cold, they are terrified, they are fearful, you know, they are anxious, you know, they have developed anxiety. They don't know what is going to happen to their country. So they are seeing that the future is uncertain. So they don't know how they're going to survive. So this is what they are seeing right now. And so it is problematic. It is still a shock for them that these things have been happening rapidly. But we are not the people who should have mercy on France, because France has not had mercy on us. France has not had mercy on our people. France has not had mercy when it was exploiting $21 billion out of Haiti. It has not had mercy while they are driving expensive cars and their citizens are going on holidays. Our people can barely find what to eat, and their citizens are working, maybe some of them 6 hours a day, 5 hours a day. Our people can barely find water to drink, can barely find electricity. So I think that we are not the right people to have mercy on France, because what it has been doing to our people, it has not had any bit of mercy on our people, and when it is exploiting our people all over the globe, not only in Africa, in Haiti, these are our people. France has been carrying out indiscriminate exploitation without mercy, without any dot of mercy. The exploitation has been indiscriminate and unmerciful and savage. It has been savage. So if the country of France goes into darkness, or if it degrades and falls down to zero into poverty, let it fall in poverty and let them experience the poverty they have been imposing on our people and making our people suffer.
Yeah, okay. So we go to the comments. Thank you for that, Kwame. As you said, yes, they have been busy commenting on each and everything. I was trying to refer to official statement from the governments. You know, they seem to be quiet, but nevertheless, they are not sleeping. Let's go through them quickly, and then we will also set free Kwame because he has to leave early today. Yeah, greetings to everyone. You start by saying, you know, greetings. I see also how you engage to each other. This is really good. This is our goal. But don't forget also to share it with others. Greetings from Black American Pan Africanists in Colombia, South Carolina, USA. This is Hayward Makulo. Did I pronounce it right? Okay, but welcome to everyone. Mikey Simba, hello, greetings. Yeah, so Hayward says, boycotting is a mighty weapon that brought down apartheid in America and South Africa. Yeah, somebody somewhere also said, I read it's a soft genocide, something like that. Yeah, so we really need to do a good campaign and try to popularize it. Maybe as I go through, Kwame, you can share your the link of your tweet here so that they can follow and retweet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will
Uh,
do that.
Somebody said this morning the Western press claimed Ecowas majority has agreed to concentrate a force on Niger's borders. Is same being heard in Africa? That is maybe the person is
No.
asking if that is.
No, it's not true. There's a lot of propaganda, like we mentioned. ECOWAS is trying to face save itself, but we gave you the reasons. Is already divided. Members inside, they don't agree. It's only a couple of countries, and those countries of already the African people have marked them as colonialistic countries, or they are puppets, and you can see them that even they themselves, they are standing when it comes to democracy. It's not good. And those countries are Nigeria. And actually, it's not the Nigerian people, because majority of Nigerian people, they don't even want their country to go to this kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
Nigeria as a country already has enough problems and already still has Boko Haram. They have not finished, killing Boko Haram or removing Boko Haram, and they are claiming that they are going to fight in Niger. And then we have Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast, we know that there is a puppet there who is called Al-Hassan Ouattara. Is a complete puppet who killed the ECOWAS. And when we go to Senegal, also we have President Macky Sall, who already has democratic problems. People have been demonstrating in this country, and he has been arresting over 1,000 people who have been demonstrating. And even right now, the opposition candidate Sonko is in hospital because of the way they have brutalized him, tear gas, and all this. So these are the three countries which are spearheading the so-called, out of the 15 countries in ECOWAS, these are the countries which are spearheading. And of course, on the other side, there's Benin, but Benin has not been fully committed to the situation of providing troops. It is only today that I'm hearing that the Minister of Defense in Ghana was saying that they are also supporting the intervention, but I have not had any commitment that they are going to put troops. But that is what they have been saying, all the others in the different corners. But you can see that out of the 15 members, very few of them have committed that they are going to put troops in there. So this is, a propaganda tactic and scare, so that the leaders in Niger can be able to cave in and give in to this threat. This is not going to be, should they attack, this is not an easy war. It will just engulf the whole region and probably pour out. And of course, this is what the whites want. This is what the Europeans want, because for them, they want to exploit this chaos. That's what they do. That's what they have been doing in the Middle East. Right now, They are in Syria. They are pumping Syria's oil. The United States is in Syria stealing Syria's oil, where the oil wells are. But who brought that chaos over there? It's the United States which sponsored people to fight against each other. It's the one which created ISIS in Iraq, and the so-called ISIS were pushed into Syria. And now we have a situation there, and then went and gave guns to other rebels so that it can take over the oil wells. So the United States and its leaders' behavior is to create chaos and exploit it. So should ECOWAS act foolishly, which I said this would be one of the most foolish acts in the history of organizations, and I'm talking about political organizations like ECOWAS, or I mean economic organization, whether it's the the European Union, whether it's NATO, all these are organizations. I think it will be one of the foolishest acts in the history of organizations outside what NATO, with its American leader, who's the imperialists, did in Iraq and Afghanistan. I think this will be one of the most foolishest, the foolishest, idea, because it will not be easy at all. Like we mentioned, Algeria is behind Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, and we have heard that strong support is also coming from Guinea. So this is not going to be a walk in the park like what you are hearing they're claiming. And they don't have those troops. If you analyze militarily, they don't have enough troops for the case of ECOWAS to commit it to this kind of, expedition that they would carry out in there. They do not have those troops to be able to commit. It will be very, very deadly. It will be extremely deadly. If the United States and France and Europe were not able to put back the president, you ask your question. If they were not able to put back the president in Mali and overthrow the government in Mali, how will they be able to overthrow the government in Niger, which has the support of Burkina Faso and Mali? How are they going to do that? If they were not able to overthrow the government in Burkina Faso, the military government in Burkina Faso, so how are they going to gang up and overthrow the one in Niger, which has the support of Mali and Burkina Faso? And Mali and Burkina Faso, they have vowed that we are going to fight behind Niger. Any attack on Niger is an attack on us. So how do you think they are going to do that? So this is
That's
just
a very valid question. Yeah.
So it's not going to happen.
Okay, so moving on. There was someone who said, if we don't have, unless we have our own atomic bomb, they will not. It will not be possible to kick them out or something. I'm not sure, but yeah, I don't know if you have something to say. Let me go through them.
Yeah, so the issue of atomic bomb, I think the country,
yeah,
the African country which was having an atomic bomb, it was with nuclear weapons, it was South Africa, but even this was during apartheid. But the United States and the Europeans, they saw it unfit for Africans to have nuclear bombs. I think they thought that the Africans will retaliate. They will retaliate for all the sins that have been committed against Africa. So they coerced the new government, which came in 1994, the government of President Nelson Mandela, to destroy the weapons, to give up the weapons so that they can be destroyed. And so that is what they did. And the other government which attempted to have a nuclear weapon, it was the president in Libya, President Muammar Gaddafi, is the one who was working on acquiring a nuclear weapon to protect himself. But he had given up, he later gave up these plans and gave up the weapons which he was arranging, the materials all he was arranging, and we see what happened later to him. And I think that, of course, if we are talking about protecting ourselves as a superpower, if we have reached the superpower status as Africa, then we have to acquire definitely a nuclear weapon to protect ourselves from this aggression, from this type of aggression by NATO and the United States. Then definitely we need to be at that level.
Okay. So North Korea, Mikey said North Korea has been invited to set up an embassy in either Niger or Burkina Faso. Correct me if I'm wrong. As far as my reading is concerning, I don't know about that, but I know that they have established a contact or a communication. But yeah, I just Googled and actually it says that North Korea has embassy in Niamey. I don't know if it's true. That's what Google says. But yeah, the US is playing games with France. It's backstabbing them to take control of Niger. Correct, I agree with that, but we should not be, they're all the same evil. So really this government, the military government now in Niger, has to be serious, like Mali, in kicking out all military bases from there. Well, the US have so far financed billions of dollars for that drone base in Niger. I really don't know how it is going to end up or easily give up. I am really afraid that maybe they will reconcile with something and they're going to stay there. God help us. Yeah. Really, because so far they have been financing it more than $500 million per year. But by the end of it, it's supposed to be billions of dollars, and they plan to finish it in 2024.
I think they have to make them pay. They have to pay for ground rent, and they have to pay a reasonable amount of money.
And then they stay to do what? Having a military base. What is?
Yeah, if it is not removing it, they should actually completely remove it. But what I'm seeing is that the United States is trying to pay him so that he can stay in there. It wants to stay around, and of course this is a threat. This is an absolute threat to the whole of the African continent. The regional countries, especially those
a land with no owner.
Yes. So it is a threat to the countries which have resisted colonialism, and it is a threat to the whole African continent and the African people generally, because these drones have been used in the past to kill innocent people in the Middle East. Now, those drones have been brought to Africa to kill Africans, any African who resists the imperialists or the colonial order of the United States and Europe. Then they will send a drone to kill the person in his house, even when he's sleeping, and maybe kill his children and kill his family. So this is what happens when you try to oppose the colonial order of the United States.
Yeah. Definitely. So OCA says, Kwame, Niger Republic is 500 miles due north of my hometown. The thought of war nearby is depressing. I think OCA is from Nigeria, I believe. Correct me if I am wrong, OCA. But yeah, definitely. When are the members of Ecowas going to think forward? I think they are just confusing us and trying to save. To save their face. There is a state-of-art Russian nuclear bomber in South Africa as part of a so-called friendly gesture. Okay, Ecowas does not realize that there is a quagmire ahead. What then? Yeah. If Tinubu goes through with this, I can see ex-army servicemen will leave Nigeria to join Niger to fight against Nigeria. That man is really
crazy. So Mahlet, I've put the tweet in the chat section. Okay. If anyone is seeing what the tweet, the Africa Reimagined, that is the tweet which we should move around, and that is the campaign which we are carrying out on the boycotting of colonial businesses, not only in Africa but anywhere where we find ourselves. Check the products, perfumes, fuel stations, do not buy from Europe. Any product which is made in France, made in Germany, made in where, do not buy it if you want to help and contribute to the removal of a colonial system in Africa. And if you want to contribute to Niger and all the other parts where there is disturbance. So this is the least you can do. These are some of the things which you can do. So this is it.
Good then. Yeah, please, if you have a Twitter handle, go and retweet, follow this account, and then retweet. Help us to disseminate the information. Whatever you have, we share with you here, whether it is the streaming of this video or tweets like this. Please help us by sharing, okay? So that we inform everyone. So thank you in advance. Hopefully we'll do that to your network. Black and Aaron, if you are around, usually you take a lead in such action, so please share it and try to remind also our viewers here. Thank you. Yeah, so Mikey Simba said, I really loved this, and I shared it here on the stream. Coup d'etat is the definition of the global north. Our narrative is a revolution against the nothing more, I say.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Tunisian head of state is a pro-Western. Yeah, true. Tunisia is a trouble. Do you know if there are any protests by citizens in the member states of Ecowas going on? Nigeria itself, I think there was.
Last week there was a protest by the labor unions. In Senegal, there's been a lot of protests. But in the northern part of the country, in Nigeria, people, demonstrated last week against the intervention.
Yeah, really interesting. Kudos to really the common people in Nigeria, to the Senate members, to the elders who have been resisting Tinubu's decision.
But what we want to say also, don't forget to support us because we are doing the work out there, and we are also working on a solution towards the situation in Niger and all the other issues affecting our continent. We are working in the background, and those people who support us directly, they have an opportunity to participate in that process and also see what we are doing before we come out in public. Some of the things which we are doing, they don't, they require us to be discreet at this point. But if you support us directly, it helps us to move forward, to keep working also and be energized in the process. So support the channel, invite other people to the channel. And that will be a great contribution to the African Revolution, which Dr. Arikana has said, and of course, which we have noticed that there is something special is going on within the African world and with the African people since the year 2020. And we have been mentioning this consistently, that these are not normal times that we are living in. So you can be part of that process, and we invite you to hold hands together with us and work with us. Thank you so much.
I have shared the PayPal account for us earlier. So please share. I'm sure you have find it relevant and informative and insightful what we bring here. So for us to be here consistently, regardless, we are really doing our best to be here every day. But it's not that easy. So please, try to help if you can, of course, with that account. But furthermore, also you can help by disseminating and sharing this video so that the YouTube algorithm, it will help us with the YouTube algorithm. Good. Now, Minilik to Adwa said Africans needs to listen to each other more and more. African media that talk about only Africa needs to come forward. Well, everybody's trying his or her on 2 cents. True, but if we come together, that will be Definitely.
Absolutely, and that is what we are trying to do. We try as much as possible to work with the other Pan-African organizations, and that's what we are doing. And our organization is called Connect Africa. So this is not just a YouTube channel, but we also have a website, and we have an organization. It's an official organization. So Connect Africa YouTube is just a media arm of that organization. Yeah. But we have the website. Also, you can go to connecttoafrica.org. There's some information there which we publish, and then we have the organization itself, with Mahlet as the managing director, and myself as the director of operations, and we have other members who are in the organizations who are part of this organization as it is operating. So this is not just a YouTube channel, but it is a full organization that is operating here. So that is what we are engaged in. So when you support us, that is what you are participating in. That is the type of work you are participating in, and that is what you are contributing to. You are contributing to Africa and the African people. Thank you.
Thank you, Kwame, really, for bringing that up from time to time, reminding our viewers it's really important. This is just a media arm of Connect Africa, and we also try to embark on the education, or like business/education, trying to bring the African diaspora to Africa, and as the name reveals, to connect Africans, the one abroad, to home, which is a kind of educational tour. But stay tuned, information will come out about that as well. OCA says Ecowas in Nigeria will lose a lot more than face if they embark on the disaster. On this disaster. Ciendes, welcome. We have missed you, I think, for the past couple of days, but I'm sure you have been listening. In the back, in the black says current Ivory Coast government came by. Oh yeah, he has. He's just a disappointment. He's a third termer. Those governments, the third termers, after the two term, they amend their constitution to stay. And then there's also a fourth termer, actually, that's Togo. I think addressing the local coups is not going to happen. It's honest, and it's a hornet's nest they will be shamed by. There's no way the Niger Military Council will back down. They have a cause and are in the right. Whatever the outcome, rebellion in Francophone will escalate. France is right now under fire in the Western African countries, in its own ex-colonies. And by the way, internally and outside, also internally, it's because the mainstream do not transmit it, but it's under fire internally. Also, people living in France are rebelling against. The collective West will never directly attack any country that has nuclear weapons. Any country that doesn't have nuclear weapons is ripe for their attack. It's many of us then. Okay, welcome, Rudolph. Just for information, says EZD. Well, it has been a while. Welcome back. Good to see you here. From 1947 to 1979, the U.S. carried out over 90 coups, removal of governments, assassinations, and that's not even including Iraq and Libya. True. Speaking of mercies, and that Mikey, France don't know the word mercy or something like that. I think I read. True. I mean, it's many really the engagement here. It's a lot, but thank you. I don't think I can go through all of them, but thank you very much. It really helps us. Unless there's any concluding remark from your side, that's it for us. But BRICS summit is coming up. It's from 22 to 24 August. We have been really extensively analyzing regarding BRICS. Now, Niger came up, and yeah, it took a lot of our times, but of course, deservedly. These kind of things
Yeah,
are.
I think we should handle it. In one of these days, probably
Yeah,
Saturday.
I think Saturdays.
Um,
That's exactly what I'm
yeah,
thinking.
so that we can look at the expectations, and maybe our
Yeah,
viewers here can put in the comment section, and then give
yeah.
us the expectations, what you have of the BRICS, and we will come here and discuss it together. Discuss and talk about it together. What should Africa expect out of it? Because we have been hearing about BRICS for a long time, even in the Western media, new currencies coming by BRICS, in admission of new members in BRICS. And of course, the challenges which South Africa has been having, that America and Europeans have been putting South Africa under a lot of pressure. Of course, President Putin is not attending, but we know that China is the major driving force behind this BRICS. And so we want to examine, will things still go ahead as we expected them, as they were supposed to? And of course, we saw also India on the other side, is still trying to side with the United States.
India
And
has continued doing
yes,
its things. Besides that,
yes,
rejecting the currency of BRICS, they have
yes.
done things much more. And because of Niger, we haven't. So there will be definitely part of that discussion when we
Yes.
do BRICS
Yeah, but,
with
but
India.
also on one side, we are seeing that India has also pushed the use of its currency, the rupee, aggressively. That even in the
Yeah,
Western media, they are terrified. So we want to examine: is India still on that side, and how is this going to affect in case the BRICS currency, of course, is launched? And of course, they say the BRICS currency is supposed. They want it to be a transactional currency only for trade. Is not for countries to use in their daily transactions in their countries, but it is for trade. It is going to be used for trade, well, for the various countries. So we want to see how would these all affect the results of the BRICS currency. So I think you need to be ready and join us on this journey. It's going to be really interesting. I think this analysis I think is going to be a very interesting discussion.
yeah. I am also very excited. But you can suggest, go ahead. You are no short of ideas. I know you can suggest topics, talking points regard to BRICS, that what you want us to bring. So that would be really good. One thing here, Siende said, in its 239 years of existence, USA has been at war for 222 years. Wow. That means, or this means, they have been without war only for 17 years. Talk about
Yeah,
war.
so I think that's why the United States cannot stop war. And I know we are close in the program, and these are big subjects. Like, the CNS, the subject he has brought, or she has brought, is a big subject.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it shows you why the United States must continue war, because this is how it sustains itself. It is not a country which can live without plundering others. If you go to the statistics and you read the book called The Confessions of an Economic Hitman, the United States is consuming 25% of global resources, and yet it is only 5% of the population. So you can see that they are consuming what doesn't belong to them. And this is what we are seeing with France also, that now they are terrified, they are fearful, they are, all of a sudden they are sad, all of a sudden, they are called as if we should be merciful on them when they have not been merciful on us in their exploitation. So I think this is not our work for us to have mercy on them and feel pity for them. And so this will be the destiny of the United States too, because this consumption of what doesn't belong to you, I think, has to stop. And with their defeat, then the United States will call back, probably even disintegrate into different states. That is what I see, and what I predict, that if we rise well and we are able to protect ourselves well, these wrangles internally, they will intensify, and probably the United States will break up into different states, as it has been doing to other countries. is the same thing which will happen to it, because it has been going across the world and breaking up countries into small particles so that it can be able to exploit them well, and including the other European countries. And of course, what we see is that the more we develop in the global south, the more chaos, arises in Europe and the United States, because they have been depending on other people's resources. So we will see even the European Union disintegrate, and the United States itself. And of course, the European Union has already started disintegrating. We saw that Britain came out of BRICS. And these are some of Britain came out of the EU with what they called Brexit. Brexit, is almost similar to BRICS. So it's Brexit. So Britain came out. And so these are some of the chaotic situations that are likely to arise out of this situation if we continue to protect ourselves and fight for ourselves and protect our own interests as Africans and the global south in general, including Latin American Africans in the other parts. So that will lead to the disintegration of the United States and scaling back its military machine, which it has used and occupied all across the world with over 800 military bases. So this will have to be scaled back.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think Niger will, now we go back to the comments. Do you think Niger will partner with Wagner in case of an attack?
It has already, of course. They invited a Wagner, and a lot of people know that Wagner is already inside. But also President Putin has discouraged Ecowas and warned it that the use of violence and attacking Niger, that will not produce any solution, and he discourages it. And he encouraged them to carry out dialogue and approach this diplomatically. And this is what even gives us more assurance that this is not going to happen. There's no war that is going to happen in Niger. A lot of powerful people have come behind. There's a lot of support behind Niger right now, including Russia. So Wagner is already inside Niger. Is working with the government.
Okay. A good point by saying this. 8 out of 15 Ecowas countries have been consistently attending the intervention meetings. Even the 8 are still divided on use of military. CNN is still doing propaganda. Oh yeah, as usual. And at the same time, they are also intimidating, Ecowas doing this, doing that. Like, yeah, sometimes describing it as weak. All sorts of things. That's it, I think. Yeah. So yeah, on Saturday we will do BRICS. So send your comments, suggestions, anything, or questions, talking points that you want us to include. And thank you very much for tuning, really, for all your inputs. We don't take it for granted. We really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you so much. And continue to share the knowledge, the information with your network, please. And if you can, you support us with the links that we shared with the PayPal account. And thank you very much. Last but not least, Kwame, for your time. It's not easy, really, the whole day you have work, and then to do this also requires reading and conversations also between ourselves, time, but we are here and we are happy to do it. We love to do it. So thank you. Have a good evening, everyone. A blessed evening. Bye-bye. Ciao. You are muted.
Yes, good evening to everyone, and good night and good day everywhere where you are. Thank you.
Yeah, ciao.